Computer Science A, Unit 1, Primitive Types. We're going to go through the notes. In this lesson, Lesson 1 is Output in Java. The objective of this lesson is for you to write your first lines in Java code. We're going to jump right in. Then, use the system.out.print and system.out.println methods to print text and understand the difference between these commands. In this lesson, you will encounter the string data type and know that strings are specified using double quotes. Now, in this lesson, we learn our very first two Java commands, system.out.print and system.out.println. The difference is subtle. System.out.print prints to the monitor. System.out.println prints to the monitor and then prints a blank line. So, as an example, if we have system.out.println hello followed by system.out.print world, you'll see the following. There we go. Hello, followed by a blank line, followed by the word world. The print line, the ln at the end, basically did a line return or a carriage feed, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the word hello. So it printed everything in the double quotes, returned to the next line, and was waiting for some further output, which we said was world. At this point, right here is where you're going to find the cursor ready to print the next thing. Now, what if we said system.out.print hello followed by system.out.println world? Then you get hello world. And notice that there's no space in between the two words. The computer outputs only what is in the quotes, inside the double quotes. Now, when we use system.out.print or system.out.println, we put a string inside the parentheses. This tells Java to copy the string regardless of its contents and print it to the monitor. If we forget the quotation marks, we will get errors when we compile, because then Java does not know that the characters inside the parentheses are supposed to be a string. It would actually interpret it as variables. And if we don't have variables with those names, it's not going to understand what we're talking about. So all commands in Java end with a semicolon. That's the way that it knows we're done telling it what to do. And if we forget the semicolon, we will also get an error when we try to compile. Compile is when we take the code that we can read as humans and tell the computer to process it into machine language that the computer can read. So here, if we have system.out.print, quote, oops, no semicolon, end quote, in parentheses, notice there's no semicolon there. We will get an error. Error expected at line 1. It wants us to put a semicolon here, right? Now, a Java program is executed from the main method in the class. So we have public class main. This is the name of the class. And then we have public static void main, string, bracket, close bracket, args, etc. That's the name of our method. Don't worry too much about this, just giving you what it is now, and as we move through this course, each one of these things will be explained in great detail. So first we have our class, our main class. Every program's got to have a main. Then we have a main method, right? Then we have a statement. Our statement is system.out.println hello world. That's our statement. That's what it's actually going to do. The curly brace, the first curly brace there, matches up. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so this curly brace here matches up with this curly brace and says, this is the end of my method. The second curly brace matches up with the first curly brace, which says this is the end of our class. So this is a very short hello world program. In programming, Hello World is, for whatever reason, the first program everybody learns to write. Note that the line numbers over on the left are for reference purposes only. They're not part of the program. The computer doesn't really read those or use those when executing the program. Those are for you and for me. So if I want to talk about line 3, our statement in line 3 is going to print hello world exclamation point and return a line feed with a blank line. I reference line 3 and then we can both know that we're looking at the right thing or the same thing. Line 1 defines a class. Every program must have at least one class. Each class has a name. By convention, notice that means if it's by convention, it doesn't mean that it's going to make it crash or have an error, but technically it's wrong. Okay, so by convention, class names start with an uppercase letter. In this example, the class is main. On Rappel 1, there always has to be a main class. Okay, you always have to have this main class. This is an annoying feature. On REPL 1. There always has to be a main class. REPL 1 is not necessarily what we're using in our class, but it's these notes shared with or from another teacher will sometimes always have this. It's an annoying feature of the website and not one that is required for Java programs in general. So not every Java program will have a public class main unless you're happen to use that particular website. Line 2 defines the main method. The program is executed from the main method. A class may contain several methods. The main method, however, is the entry point where the program begins execution. So each class will have a main method, right? It's going to be where it starts. The class name and the method do not have to match. Okay? Again, this is an annoying REPL.IT feature. Line 3 contains the system.out.println statement. Every statement in Java ends with a semicolon. You can and will have many statements in a method. Very few methods will have a single statement like this one. Okay? Now, reserved words or keywords have a specific meaning to the compiler and cannot be used for other purposes in the program. We will learn about many reserved words in this course, but the ones that you see in the small program that was on the previous slide are public, class, static, and void. In Eclipse, which is the IDE or the program, the platform which you'll be writing your code in, you will see the keywords turn a color to help you identify those reserved words. Almost every Java IDE, Java has a lot of different platforms that you could use to write code in. Eclipse happens to be one of them. Almost all of them will turn your reserved words to some other color, okay, so that you can pick them out quickly and easily. A pair of curly braces in a program forms a block that groups the program's components. In Java, each block begins with an opening brace and ends with a closing brace. Every class block that groups the data and methods of the class, okay? Similarly, every method has a method block that groups the statements in the method. Blocks, that should be blocks. We're going to fix that right now. Whoops. Blocks can be nested, as you see in a simple program on the previous slide, okay? An opening brace must be matched by a closing brace. If it's not, you're going to get an error. Whenever you type an opening brace, immediately type a closing brace to prevent the missing brace error, and then put whatever needs to go in between them. Do know that Java source programs are case sensitive. It would be wrong, for example, to replace lowercase m, a-i-n in the program with uppercase m, lowercase a-i-n. Those are two different things. The computer sees those as being different. Very, very important. Oh, did not mean to give you a new slide there. Going on to the next one. And that is the end of our first lesson. We'll now move on to lesson 2.